Good evening, and welcome once again to A Man in a Room Gambling. As we promised yesterday, we will explain how to perform the all-unworthy trick, el trile or three-card. You will have noticed this trick a few times on the streets of your town center.
A Man in a Room Gambling is a piece, it's a collaboration between me, a composer, and Juan Muñoz, a sculptor. And he decided he'd like to do a piece for radio, and I was sort of curious as to what a piece by a sculptor on radio would sound like. You know, I imagine someone just hitting a chisel on a block of wood, and I thought it had a sort of fairly limited appeal. But he's not that kind of sculptor anyway. Well, for me, Juan was one of the really great artists. He was a Spanish sculptor. He was only, what, 48, not quite 49 when he died. There's no sense of a single style in his work. You'll see a series of pieces, and they don't look like each other. Eventually become aware that it's the same mind that's created them. He came up with this idea of something which was really related to the way you hear radio as broadcast. And that is that if maybe 5 minutes before the last news of the day on the radio, there's a program, and this would be our slot, as it were. And he decided to do 10 texts based on the writings of a Canadian card sharp, the man who wrote the definitive book on how to cheat at cards, how to manipulate playing cards in the beginning of last century.
During recent evenings, we have told you about some artifices and subterfuges that you can perform at a gambling table. All we are talking about is the ability to take whatever cards, deal them out, and turn them into a winning hand.
There are 10 of these texts, and each one is accompanied by music. So that as you're listening to this description, at the same time you're hearing music playing.
And it is true. What mainly distinguishes the professional is that he's driven by his love of the act of gambling, while others are motivated by greed.
He envisaged that someone would encounter this broadcast sort of by accident. Maybe like you're driving on the motorway and you tune into the news, you want to check the weather, you want to see what's happening in the world, and you tune in a few minutes early and you hear this thing and you're sort of slightly baffled by it, you hear it in a slightly out of focus way, and then you hear the news and you're not quite sure what you've heard. Each piece is exactly 5 minutes long, so it's designed to fit that kind of slot, rather like the shipping forecast. And the idea of the music, though, is not to draw attention to itself. It's not there to be heard as great music. It's there to be integrated with the text.
In this program, we are going to go over one of the routines again, though perhaps a little more briefly than we did last time. More than any other, this is the artifice which, if done properly, allows the professional gambler to increase his winnings so that he can then fritter them away.
I mean, in a way, performing it now, it's a slightly emotional thing because, Juan we were close, and hearing his voice and playing it with his voice. I mean, when he died, I must admit, at first I couldn't do it for a while. Well, Juan did perform several times live, and there is some footage when a German television station made a program about me when we filmed one entire take of the 10th of the Man in a Room Gambling pieces with Juan reading live. So it's possible to actually see Juan himself performing, and you'll see the kind of concentration. He's, he's not fooling about, he's concentrating like crazy.
Chance that with gambling as such.
We had lots of plans. We planned to make a kind of chamber opera out of this piece, and the summer he died, we both went away before the summer. I live on the west coast of Canada, so we went to my seaside place, and he went back to Spain, and we said we'd meet afterwards and work on this chamber opera. Then I had a call that he died, and so that disappeared. But in fact, now I'm making the chamber opera with a group in America, and so Juan's spirit is still alive in that piece.